The following podcast does contain some mature language. More importantly, it can and will contain spoilers for portions of the main scenario questline and possibly content released in patch 6.1. You have been warned. On with the show. From the many realms of Atheris to the distant reaches of the 1st and the 13th via the magic of podcasting, this is episode 18 of A Podcast Reborn, a show celebrating our journey in the past, present, and possible future of Final Fantasy XIV. This episode is being recorded on Sunday, July 17th of 2022. My name is Brian Black, also known as Ro, and with me, as always, are my two wonderful co-hosts. First off, she plays the sweatiest Lalafell that still somehow manages to look fresh after grinding out 18,000 wolf marks. Hi, Megan.
Hi. It was easier this time. I figured out a trick. I'll tell you. I'll tell you later. I'll save that for later.
Okay. Want to know how to make 18,000 wolf marks? Just follow this one simple trick. Listen for later on in the show.
Yoshi P hates her.
Well, yeah, but that's for other reasons.
Well, I'm intrigued and yet afraid to ask. And with her, of course, is a man who, if I'm not careful, will turn this show into a Star Wars Old Republic podcast. Hi, Brandon.
Yeah, it's probably going to happen. I'm sorry. I've got summer SWTOR brainworms. But in Final Fantasy news, the other day I actually saw an open plot in Limsa, but I figured there's going to be a ton of people putting in bids on it, so I decided to not even bother looking at it. Turns out only one other person bid. I could have had a 50-50 chance on a house. Talk about a missed opportunity.
Mm. You know,
that's like extra cruel, my dude.
I know. Brandon. That's why I picked that one.
Brandon.
Yes?
You know, it's been a pleasure having you on the show the past 17 episodes, and Megan and I are really going to miss you when we're to see you permanently as a co-host.
Understood. I totally deserve it. I knew when I picked that joke from the list, that was going to be the likely outcome. Farewell, everybody. So, you can check out my Tumblr for all my dad jokes.
Yeah. I mean, you can consider this Brandon's going away party. No. Oh, my. Don't. Housing. I had the best chance since this whole... I'm frustrated enough that I'm going to curse. Since this whole fucking housing debacle, I had the best chance to get a house on Goblet with all these extra wards switching from free company to being, oh, hey, you can get a private house, sure. And I go over... I figure that, well, there's all these houses in Imperium. Everyone's going to flood over there. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to the Goblet because I keep on hearing memes about the Goblet, how the Goblet's like, oh, you don't want to buy a house in the Goblet because there's Mist and Shirogane and those places look so much better, blah, blah, blah. It's like, for me, it's like, yeah, the location and the appearance and stuff would be kind of nice and all, but I'm like, F it, you know, I'm going to go outside the box and I'm going to get a house in the Goblet. So I do. And for 3 days of the entry period, there were only 2 people who were in the running for that house.
Oh, no.
Right before I left for work, about 7 hours before the lottery, there were 5 people. And so, I mean, 5 people, 20%, it's not a majority chance. It's not like a coin flip. So at this point, it's like... Yeah, I mean, it's the best chance I've had since this whole thing began, but odds are I'm not going to get it. It's fine. And I end up being off by 1 on the lottery night.
Oof. I think mine was like 1 in 8, but I don't know. I blanked it all out because I won. I don't care anymore.
Yeah. And I saw stories in like other Discord servers of people who've been trying X many times. Like, I got one, I'm crying, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? For everyone who got a house in this latest flood of openings and lotteries and stuff like that, you know, I'm happy for you, but also fuck you. I'm just from the bottom of my heart, have fun, and please don't talk to me ever again. I'm just a little bitter, aren't I? Man, I don't know. It's. I don't know if I will ever get one. I really don't at this point. I feel like the best chances have come up. At this point, I have pretty much resigned myself to. I'm going to keep on trying the lottery. I doubt it's going to happen. If fate decides, okay, sure, throw him a bone, then cool, whatever. But at this point, I have to wait for them to add more wards to housing. So that's the only way I see it happening now.
Yeah, well, or like moving to a less populated server.
I have my feet firmly entrenched in Diablo, so there's no way I'm server transferring.
Yeah, plus, I think the only way he's moving is if all of Stars Herald does, and I don't see that happening anytime soon.
I mean, you could still cross realm stuff. Like you can come visit whenever you want.
Well, you see, there's a problem with that.
Is it housing?
Kind of. Because my main character technically has a home, but shares a home with the character's spouse. Soon to be spouse, character's fiance.
Are you having an in-game wedding?
And speaking of that, there's an in-game wedding happening literally a week from today.
Oh my gosh!
Yes,
I'm gonna come.
A couple of people in the Stars Herald have already received invitations.
Oh, but not me, though. I see how it is.
Only because I haven't seen your character and Ward's character in-game. That's going to be weird, though, right? Because it's like...
It's true.
I mean, anyone in Stars Herald, it obviously is going to get an invitation. But it's like, I only know Megan and Ward's Stars Herald characters from when they stopped by the casino gambling, so it seems awkward to be like, oh, hey, you're the two people who gambled and lost some money. Come to my wedding.
Maybe that's like a consolation prize. Like, come have free dinner.
You want to see the Sanctum of the 12?
Well, they're going to have an in-game wedding eventually, so... But, yeah, I don't know. I need to actually, like, do more RP. I keep, like, planning to, and then, like... I don't know, man. I just, lately I've just been playing a bunch of Fire Emblem because it's hot as balls and I don't got to turn on a giant towering inferno computer to play it.
Is your computer really putting out that much heat?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, my desk is the one farthest away from the air conditioning, so or it's always like, oh, I'm cold. Do you mind if I turn off the AC? And I'm literally like sweating, like turn to look at him like, what?
Angry
Do you want to die?
Don't fucking touch it. Ah! It has not been a good time in LA, but I hear it's worse ever like in other places. But it's just like it's baseline normal bad right now for summer.
It's been manageable here in Ohio. It's 80s sometimes, humid, rainy, stormy sometimes. It's if you don't like the weather in Ohio, just wait 5 minutes, so it'll change.
I miss rain. I miss green. I grew up in the mountains, as I like to say.
I remember you. In the mountains.
I grew up in the Santa Cruz Mountains, which is a redwood forest. So it was always very like foggy and rainy and green and beautiful. And now I live in fucking shit soup land where it is always smoggy. The worst thing is flying in because you can literally see the like dome of brown over LA and you're like, yeah. And then you just dive right into it. And you're like, fuck.
Sounds like flying into Houston.
God, I bet. Maybe it's worse in Houston. I don't know. Yeah, we're supposed to have regulations here.
Let's not go there, please. When
Yeah.
I talk about politics, I'd rather contain them to be within FF14 politics.
Right.
Out of curiosity, though, you kind of bring up an interesting thing. So for you, is the lack of being in FF14 just more motivated by just literally the heat and stuff like that, or does Fire Emblem just have you that good?
Right now, well, Fire Emblem, I don't want to give story spoilers, but something happened that I didn't like, but now we've overcome it and everything's great in the House of Blue Lions again. So now I feel like I don't know if I'm, so it's the 3 houses, right? There's 3 kingdoms. We've settled the affairs of one kingdom. We're going into the other kingdom, and then we're going to be in the home stretch. So I feel like I'm rounding the corner on the home stretch, and I really want to play the whole game through so then I can go on to shitpost Emblem on Reddit and read all the memes. I really don't want to spoil it because there are genuine twists in this game, and it's good and it's fun and oh man, there are some things that I could do a rant about, but oof.
Sounds like we're going to need to have a couple of spin-off podcasts from this. Yeah. We're going to need to have an Old Republic podcast for Brandon. We're going to need to have a Fire Emblem podcast for you.
You have it. Play it.
Oh, I know.
We both do.
Yeah, freaking go play it. We can have a little special episode.
I will say that while I'm fairly confident that I have played several times more Final Fantasy XIV than both of you combined in the past 2 weeks, because I've been in 14 a fair bit. The casino RP is still strong.
Well, that's the thing. You just RP. You don't raid or do.
Well, I don't do any raiding right now because I will say that I went back into Aglaya to get a coin because as of the recent as of 6.18, you can trade in an Aglaya coin for the weapon upgrade. So I upgraded my weapon on my summoner.
Is that how you pronounce it? I say Aglia.
Aglaya, whatever. Tomato,
it's
potato,
a joke.
Potato.
Until they start providing voiceovers for the Alliance Raid series, we're never going to know that.
Well, it's a joke between me and Ward that we're like, "Want to do Aglia? Aguga? But that's me and Ward's sense of humor. Just to mispronounce something as wildly as you can while the other person still understands what you're saying.
That's hilarious.
Well, I was saying while I have played a ton of 14 more than you guys, there has been another game that I recently got into that I beat sort of, kind of, and I have to apparently beat it again 4 more times.
Oh, what? No.
What is it?
Brandon, do you know what it is?
I think I have a guess.
It's relevant to Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah, I do not have a guess. I thought it was Hades.
What is it? Is it Nier?
Yes, it is Nier.
No.
Motherfucker. I have that. I've literally bought that. It's sitting in my Steam library. But
so
it's sorry. It's like you sit down and you have this giant gourmet meal in front of you and you're like, I don't know if I can eat all of this. Yeah. But I know once I start, I'm not going to want to stop. So you just keep putting it off. That's me and Nier.
So I will say that my first playthrough took about 15, 16 hours, and I was not very completionist about it. And there's also probably a number of things that I missed. But I think your first playthrough is almost supposed to be that way.
That makes sense.
All I can say is, without spoiling it, is I've already mentioned one playthrough, multiple playthroughs. This game is meant to be played through multiple times, and I can't exactly explain why without spoiling it. I happen to know why multiple playthroughs are involved, even though I haven't seen the story, how it changes for multiple playthroughs. I know that you want to play it at least 5 times.
It is a weird Japanese game. That's very common with those kinds of games. Yoko Taro.
Oh, it's the latest Dragon Quest. It wasn't exactly multiple playthroughs, but man, that game was so freaking big. You go through what is like the standard length of an RPG, like 40, 50 hours, you get to the end, and then you get to what you think is the end, and then all of a sudden you're back at the beginning of the game in an alternate timeline, and you have to play through the game all over again, and there's a completely different final boss. I'm like, oh my god, there's another 50 hours of gameplay here. What the hell?
Yeah, even Fire Emblem, what I'm playing right now, like, you're supposed to replay it, choosing each of the houses, like, doing different run-throughs. Hilariously, so if you guys are going to play it, I want to tell you right off the bat, you can recruit students from other houses.
Yep.
So I didn't know that at first. Ward had told me, and I really regret not getting more of them because it's a war simulator. So any that you don't tuck under your arms and run out of like a burning building with them, you're gonna, and you will probably have to murder them personally, like you specifically. And so I felt really bad about that. And I haven't even
potential husbandos and waifus were lost, is what you're saying.
Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying.
And waifus died to bring us this information.
and I have their like best friends in my house, so like they had to kill their best friend, and now they're depressed about it.
Aww.
Although I am a little bit of a shitheel, and I'm like, you know what? You should do the killing blow. And then I feel bad about it.
You're a terrible person.
Yeah, well, okay, look, like half the time they're like, ho ho, I must retreat, and then they just leave, and then half the time they're like, tell my family I loved them, and I died for what I believed in, and I'm like, oh, shit, well, mistakes were made. But, like, you can't, like, the first time that I had to kill one of them, I literally chased them around the battlefield at, like, they were at, like, 1 HP, hoping that, like, an option to talk to them would pop up, and it never did. So it was literally like yakety sax of me like running around and him taking pot shots at me. Being like, please talk to me. It doesn't have to be like this. It does. Apparently.
Do be like that sometimes.
Before we go any further, there is something that I realize I need to get out there that I probably should have addressed like 10 minutes ago before we went off on like 3 different tangents already, because I already expect this episode's going to go off on a number of tangents, and we're already 15 minutes into this. There may be a number of new people listening to this show that have just found out about this show for the first time. And that is because just as of a few days ago, A Podcast Reborn officially joined a network of Bonus Roll Productions, which was formerly known as Warcraft Radio. People that know me know that I've done Realm Maintenance, Hearth Casual, Rolling Restart through Warcraft Radio. Warcraft Radio basically decided to level up, expand beyond Blizzard, cover other games, so it now includes an Elder Scrolls Online podcast. It has an Overwatch podcast. It's expanding into other MMOs. Even Realm Maintenance is going to be covering podcasts from other MMOs. And all I can say is, my God, I'm glad I'm not doing Realm Maintenance right now, because holy crap. Man. Ease has his work cut out for him. But anyhow, we are part of Bonus Roll Productions now. So for people that are discovering us for the first time, welcome.
We're sorry.
I would say we're not usually like this, but that would be a lie.
That is that. And we are definitely usually like this. I will say that this week's episode is probably going to be a little lighter on Final Fantasy than most, simply because we are at a point in the Final Fantasy 14 cycle where things are relatively slow, in a lull. I wouldn't say dead game or anything. It's just people are doing their usual stuff. And this is kind of the way Final Fantasy 14 is designed. Even Yoshi P has said himself, is it's the type of game where you're meant to play it for a while, then go play some other things, and come back when there's content that you want to play. Right now is kind of that time where, hey, Megan wants to play Fire Emblem. Brandon wants to play Star Wars Old Republic. I just want to gamble and RP and get my character married, and play Nier Automata and find out that, hey, Nier Automata isn't all about butts.
It's just it's a lot about butts, but it's not all about butts.
It's a lot about butts, but it's not all about butts. And there's
they're
like
artistic butts, goddammit.
There's like deep, meaningful things about like, what is humanity? What does it mean to be human? And also there's butts, but also philosophy. So
Oh my god! I think I remember
And
it
also,
was
there's
like
butts.
the.
That's the show title.
I'm remembering the like 0 punctuation review of Nier of like it also stars sexy robot maids. In case you forgot that this is aggressively Japanese. It's like, yep,
yeah,
pretty much.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, we talk about, a little bit of everything, anything and everything. We tend to sometimes sidetrack into talking about lore. We definitely sidetrack into whatever we've been currently playing. So these two will definitely be talking about the stuff that they've been playing. I'll try to keep the train on track sometimes. It's just going to go off the course again in a few minutes. But at the end of the day, we're having fun. And I sincerely apologize and prepare you for all the dad jokes. And if you like dad jokes, please listen to the previous 17 episodes. So you're sure to get an earful.
It's more like 14. I didn't really start doing the dad jokes until like episode
True.
4 or 5.
True. But
Before that, I just tried to make you cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I prefer the dad jokes.
Yeah, me too. There's only so much sadness I can take in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But we're happy to be on board for this, and if you want to know more about Bonus Roll Productions, I'll give this info at the end of the show as well, but you can go to bonusroll.gg. There you'll find a podcast directory, a whole bunch of stuff. You can also click on the community link there, and that will help you find the Discord for Bonus Roll Productions, which also has a channel for A Podcast Reborn in which you as listeners can interact with us there. So there you go.
Oh,
right.
I also did the art for the website. I don't know if they actually put it up.
No, it's up there. Like if I go to one of the pages there, I saw you did like one of a troll. There's like
they wanted 2 Warcraft characters and 1 Final Fantasy 14 character. So I did a troll, a Draenei, and a Mikote. Because it's got to have a cat girl. Look, man. I was playing to my strengths.
Come on. Everyone knows lizard girls are the true emblematic race.
Yeah, well, you draw 1 million scales. We'll see how you do it. Literally, I love Aura so much. Drawing them such a pain in the ass. Like, you got to get the horn shape right. You got to get the scale pattern right. And then it's like, do you draw each individual scale or just to draw the outline and then do a few little like beep beep patches in the middle? Man, I've done it both ways, and like doing each individual scale is so time consuming. Jesus Christ. Especially if I'm doing it in like a painterly or any sort of realistic style. Although even cell shading can be a huge pain in the ass because you gotta shade each one. And then I'm feeling, like Napoleon Dynamite of like, it took me 4 hours to finish shading. You're like, I don't want to be that in real life. But yeah, my RP main is an Aura. And I specifically chose the easiest horn shape to draw.
Just for that reason?
Just for that reason, yeah. Yep. They're the big triangle ones on the side, which they are like the largest horns, but they're the easiest to draw because like you might think that just the 2 little pointy ones are the easiest to draw, but it's like depending on the angle of the head, like how much horn is visible and like what the actual shape of it coming off the face. Oh my god. I should have just rolled a cat girl. I don't know what's wrong with me.
On an unrelated note, how much would it cost me to get a commission of my Al-Ra, dude?
Well, it depends on like how much body you want and how like what style you want it in. I have links to my commission info in my Twitter bio if you want to check it out.
I will probably actually be doing that, not for my Al-Ra, dude, but mostly I just wanted to troll you with, hey, I want you to draw me another lizard boy.
Like basically, I don't mind doing. I will simplify it to my preferred whatever. The thing that I hate the most is like mega complicated armor and especially mega complicated weapons, which is why I am so freaking happy to have switched from World of Warcraft to Final Fantasy 14. Because if I had to draw one more fuck off pauldron, I swear to God.
That's the first time I've ever heard them called fuck off pauldrons. That's amazing.
Fuck off pauldrons.
They're not just giant, they're also like incredibly complicated, and there's floating bits, and there's like chains and things dangling off of them. No, fuck it.
I'm pretty sure that if you look under a WoW pauldron, there's probably 2 or 3 small houses up for sale.
It's like, what do they wear in Final Fantasy? They can wear jorts and a t-shirt. I'm like, yeah, I will draw that. Excellent. It's like, yeah, it's a bunch of weeby stuff.
Man.
Like, oh, great. I have a ton of practice with that. Kimono, I'm on it. Friggin' school uniforms, double thumbs up.
Varsity jacket, let's go.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Like, anything that has appeared in a shoujo manga, I am all over it. Even like super tight metal bodysuits. I'm like, you know what? Not bad. Just gotta add some extra shine. But yeah. I much prefer the anime aesthetic to the, let's be real here, Warhammer 40k ripoff aesthetic.
Ooh.
Oh, I went there. Oh.
So I'm thinking, just kind of discussing this out loud between the three of us, kind of staff meeting on the show. I think you need to design the official Podcast Reborn shirt. Like, I know we have logos and stuff like that, but I think we need to have a Podcast Reborn shirt with like our three characters or something like that, and then butterscotch looming over us all.
Oh, you saw the little, like, you asked me for a profile picture for the website, and I literally like drew myself like on the microphone with butterscotch like glaring at me from down below, which is basically how I record every day. Right now she's fallen asleep, but she's sitting at the end of the hallway keeping an eye on me.
Mm-hmm.
I just imagine the three of us with our Warriors of Light, doing these cool action poses, and then this looming butterscotch Shinryu hybrid monstrosity looming over the back of us.
Butterscotch is the final boss of A Podcast Reborn.
Oh,
you thought it was the dad jokes.
Butterscotch Battalion has a house, and Ward is actually the one that's set up in the main room. We have a little, like, the council will decide your fate set up of, like, all these fat cat chairs, like, in a half circle. So, yeah, we need to get some sort of obnoxious exterior. Probably going to go for gingerbread. That's, yeah, we got that on Gilgamesh, which is pretty shocking, but I guess there's a bunch of...
Sarah, if you're listening, go yell at her, please, not me this time.
We got, I think it's a small house, and says it's a free company. Like, no free companies on small houses, so it wasn't that hard to get. Although it took us a few weeks, actually, until we gave up trying to get, like, prime locations. And I think, where did we get Butterscotch Battalion's house?
Beg your pardon?
Where did we get Butterscotch Battalion's house?
I was in the Imperium.
In the Imperium?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Well,
Small, but...
shows how much I'm checked in on that. Which is not at all. Don't join Butterscotch Battalion. You'll see Ward sometimes.
They're all RPing on Diablos.
You'll see me when I log in to do quests that have a shit ton of prereqs, because that's my main. Speaking of, I finally did the Omega quest.
Yay!
On my cat girl, which was fun. But also, like, why are we doing this? This is very silly. Like, yes, I know, I just played this expansion. Why are we doing all these flashback quests?
Right? It was... That's the thing about this Omega quest. I thought that the Omega quest was going to be... We were going to find out, like, a hell of a lot more, like, what's going on with Omega. Like, what big changes are happening there. And, I mean, like, you find out a little bit because Omega's downloaded into a toy... into the toy and stuff like that, basically.
Mm-hmm. I literally thought he couldn't go upstairs, so I was like trying to find ways to get to the quest givers without going upstairs. And like I get to the point where one of them's in the like silk weaving space, which is at the bottom of stairs. There's no way to get in there without going upstairs. I'm like, how the fuck do I get down there? Where it's like, oh, he could go downstairs. He just doesn't like it. I'm like, motherfucker, you little shit.
He just gets cranky about stairs. Really cranky.
You would think he'd be cranky about getting the shit kicked out of him by 8 Warriors of Light and then being forced to live inside a toy version of his body. But no, stairs are what gets him angry.
Imagine if we'd had this knowledge and went back in time and fought Omega, and all we had to do was just have some summoners create a whole bunch of stairs.
Oh my god. Well,
he could fly back then.
True.
I feel like we would end up. You guys have read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right?
Yes.
I feel like we would end up with a Marvin situation if this happened. Like, brain the size of a galaxy, and I have to follow around a fucking chicken. You'd just be a little depressed robot. I think the only reason
he loves Alpha.
Well, yeah, I think the only reason that he's not depressed is that he's like, emotions are useless, only logic. And it's like, okay, but like, you can't explain everything with logic. And he's like, I know, and it's pissing me off.
Let's be real here. Omega considers Alpha in the same way we, as the Warriors of Light, think of Hildebrand. Let's be honest here.
I still haven't done those ones.
Ah! You're going to have to soon, people.
I know.
You got to get some relics.
I'm going to have to do it on my main, because she's the one that, she's supposedly my raid character, but I don't have a raid I'm doing with her right now. And I'm going to have to do it on Tarika, which I have been raiding with AIE, but it's not been going super great. It's because we down number one consistently, and now we just keep doing number one over and over again because you can get however many, but then we like just couldn't get through number two. So not my fault every time. I'm not saying it wasn't my fault no times. I want to get Dancer up to 90. Although I also kind of want to get Reaper up to 90, but like, I don't know how that's going to go with the raid comp, or if there even is much of a raid comp. We're on like the like second overflow team. Like they have their main raid, and we're like on the number 2 team. So,
well, and then I mean, like, it's only going to be a matter of weeks. Right now, we're past mid-July. This next update's supposed to come out in like the mid-latter part of August. So we've got about a month to go before we have a whole new section of Asphodelos to do.
Oh, yeah. Maybe we can actually see La Bread.
The bread. Gotta get that bread.
La Bread.
Oh
honestly, La Habre is a fucking great name. I love it.
At one of these... Wait. Why do I feel like Brandon made a Tar Pits joke about him already?
A what joke? La Brea Tar Pits. The La Brea Tar Pit joke? No, I haven't. Too low hanging of a fruit. Same with Laha bread.
There is no fruit too low for me.
Megan knows about the Have you ever been to the La Habrea Tar Pits, Megan? That is kind of close to your neck of the woods.
I've driven past it on the way to other stuff. I've never intentionally just gone there. It's literally just a pit of tar.
Yes.
And it is stinky.
Yes.
Like, okay. Like I don't see the point of visiting that. Like you can literally just drive past it and see everything. So and you'll probably be sitting in traffic anyway, so you'll get a pretty good look. There you go.
And a pretty good stench.
Yeah. Yeah. Turn to recycle within the car air at that point.
All right.
Wait. My PvP hack.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
We've let people wait for half an hour to find out this one simple trick. Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, it's not really a hack. Basically, if you're doing PvP, I just do Crystalline Conflict because I hate what's the other one? Frontlines. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It takes too long, and I don't want to play Summoner. Or I don't have Summoner unlocked, so I never feel like I'm making any difference. So I'm currently doing a bunch of PvP on my potato, who is right now a warrior. Later, they're going to become a reaper. I'm having a lot of fun actually with warrior PvP, and I'm getting a lot of comms, so I hope that means I'm doing well. But basically, every 1,000 crystals, you can turn it in for a collar, which you can turn it in for 4K wolf marks.
Ooh.
So that goes way faster than getting 250 for a loss, 500 for a win.
Yes.
And I was able to complete it in like one afternoon, and now I've got the haircut that I wanted to get her, which hilariously on my other character that I got an 18K wolf mark haircut on, I later decided that no, that's not the haircut I wanted to wear. So
oh my god.
I had this idea in my head that like she used to be a scholar and she was like, oh, I'm leaving home. So she like does the dramatic anime trope of like cutting her hair off to like show her character growth. And then I was like, nah, you know what? I like the idea of her having like fluffy, messy hair better. And and it's also like I wanted her to have these round spectacles, but she's a Viera, so it's the little glasses. What are these things called? The arms, the things that go behind your ears. Except she doesn't have ears, so they're just like floating, stuck to the side of her head. And I'm like, I gotta hide this.
Fair.
Fluffy hair.
Wait, how do Viera wear glasses?
I mean,
oh my gosh, you've just melted my brain with this.
If it was realistic, they would have like a strap that goes behind their head, or it would just stick to their nose. Like there are glasses that will just pinch onto your nose, but
they just tuck the arms into their hairline.
Mm-hmm. It's like the other funny thing is watching all my different characters use link pearls.
I love how me and Jolie avoided that just now.
Yep.
What did I avoid?
Oh God, did you miss it? Hairline.
Oh, because yeah. Okay. No, I just went right over my head. It's cool. So sometimes I'm just too dumb to get offended, and that's a good way to live.
That wasn't even offensive.
Oh, man.
It was just a terrible rabbit pun. I think I've actually used that same pun on another episode opener.
Anytime you use a pun that's not immediately obvious and also makes perfect sense for what you're saying, it will go right over my head.
Oh my Lord.
I'm a literal little weirdo. But what was I talking about? Oh, link pearls. The way that all my different characters use them, because I have an Aura, I have a Viera, and now I have like a Lalafell. The Aura, I was watching her use the link pearl. She just kind of puts her entire hand like on her horn, and I'm like, huh. And then I was like looking closer, and I'm like, so. Wait, but like link pearls are like these little round, they're like pearls. They look like pearls. And so you assume that everybody else is like putting him in their ear. And so I'm like, she's just like taping it to her horn. Is it in her hand? And she's like mashing it against her horn. And then I was looking at the earrings and I'm like, wait, are these like those little kitty like jewel stick-on earrings? Or did she like bore a hole in her horn?
Well, considering that on Al Ra their horns are their ears, I cannot imagine the boring thing would be anything other than insanely painful.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Like I don't even know how hard the horns are supposed to be. Is there like flesh inside of it? Or is it bone all the way through?
We're going into the deep talk now. And these are the important questions. I will say that I have roleplayed with an Aura before that roleplayed the whole link pearl thing. The way that she did it was that the link pearls were attached to small strings, and she had a few strings around her horn, and each string had a small link pearl.
That's cute.
So it was basically kind of like jewelry, basically.
That's fairly common in the fanfic writing scene. When people have Aura characters, they'll either do something like that or have them basically attached to a leather cuff around their wrist that they just raise up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just funny. And then like for earrings, all the characters that I like to play, the earrings are just fucking nuts on them. Like Viera with their earrings, it's just like absolute roll of the dice where the hell it's going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
Like oftentimes it'll just kind of be floating like in the middle of their ear, because there's like the two skin folds, that come forward of a bunny ear, and then so you'd assume that the earring would be like on one of the little flaps, but no, it's just like in the middle of the pink, floating there, like not even in the back, like where the pink is. It's just like someone just slapped it on there. Like, oh, okay, cool. The other thing that upsets me is there's a dearth of hairstyles to get. Like, I have this hilariously on my computer. You know how like when you type something in and the website will just pop up if you go there a lot. One of them, if I start typing in hairstyles, it's like Final Fantasy 14 hairstyles, a list, and like you can sort it by like what an Aura can wear, or what a Viera can wear and what a Hrothgar can wear. The Viera one is a little carrot. So you click on the carrot and it'll show you all the Viera ones. And I'm like, this is obnoxiously few.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting what's going to happen when female Hrothgar are finally added.
Oh my god, I want them. I want cat moms. I want
We
cat
don't even know what they're
women.
going to look like.
Look, man, they got to be beefy. They got to be fluffy, and they got to have like a literal cat face. They got to beat Warcraft at its own furry game.
You know, that's a perfect segue to.
No.
So, the alpha for Dragonflight, the next WoW expansion, came out, and I'm kind of interested in if either of you have looked at any of that stuff, and if you have any thoughts about it. But I know that one of you has been keeping an eye on things because apparently Gnolls have a graphical update and they look cuter and furrier now, and Hogger doesn't look anywhere near as threatening as he used to.
They look like a furry artist drew a porn picture of Hogger. Like that's what his face looks like now. It's like it's cute. I don't know how, like, but not in like a not totally like a teehee adorable way, but in like a handsome furry way. And I'm a little uncomfortable, but at the same time I'm like, Blizz is going hard after the furry dollars. That's like they're doing the dragon people. And they've always kind of had some of the furry market, although I will say most of the furry market just kind of squints and uses their imagination with like the Taurens and the Worgen. But they did recently like redo the Worgen to make them cuter, and they look way furrier. I don't know how else to put it.
It's so hilarious because it's like when I remember being on the World of Warcraft side, and like when I look at how WoW, people who play primarily WoW or only play WoW talk about Final Fantasy 14. It's like, oh, that place is for furries and cat people and stuff like that. It's like, wait.
No,
you have bull people and wolf people and
panda people.
Panda people. It's like
friggin' little fox people. It is absolutely it is a cesspit of furry over in World of Warcraft, and you should be proud of it. God damn it! Look, if you can't defend your own degeneracy, why are you playing this game? And I will say, Final Fantasy is not for furries. It is for weaboos. Know the difference. All right?
Okay. For those uneducated, what is a weaboo?
Oh my god.
Oh, no.
Okay. So a weaboo is someone who is not from Japan, who is obsessed with the anime version of Japanese culture. So they're not actually interested in like the real Japan. They're interested in like anime schoolgirls and giant robots, and like they assume that like if they went to Japan it would be like an anime, and it just absolutely not. Which is like the equivalent of being like, oh, if I go to America it'll be just like SpongeBob.
SpongeBob?
I bet you use SpongeBob as an analogy for America.
I don't know, Degrassi.
I mean, you're not far off, but
Oh, I'm crying.
Or, you know, like you think it's going to be all cowboy movies or something. I don't know. What do we export? They think it's going to be Marvel movies. They think that like superheroes are going to be running around the streets or something. And everybody's going to be beautiful and like I don't know. I am a weeboo, so I don't know anything about my own culture. Okay.
Isn't that part of being a weeboo though?
Yeah, exactly. Like you're really into the anime aesthetic and like Japanese video games, just Japanese everything, and like probably some Korean stuff too. But your brain just categorizes it all as anime stuff. It's like.
And if going to Japan is in the top 3 of your bucket list, you're definitely a weeboo.
Oh, and especially if it's like, I want to go to Akihabara. I want to go to, you know, like all the nerdy stuff. You don't actually want to go to any of the historical sites or anything. Or like, I want to go to a shrine and wear a kimono because that's what they do in my favorite Japanese animes. If you've been to an anime convention
where you can hear the bell go doom doom doom.
Yes,
I didn't have to go to school for that. I had my grandmother had an old grandfather clock that just did that every hour.
Oh my god! Like you want to. It's the big meme of like when you go to Japan, but you can't figure out how to turn on the subtitles. Like that's basically the weeaboo mindset of like you understand it through watching anime, playing games, reading hentai. Like you don't you have a very brightly colored and interesting view of things. But that's the thing. Like that's if that is your bag baby, then Final Fantasy will be your bag baby because it is a video game from Japan. Also, I think it's kind of cool to like play a game and not be in like the original audience for it. Like that's so rare for me as like an American to hear like, oh, actually in the original language, I think the original writers meant this. It's like, oh, I never get to hear about stuff like that unless it's from my Japanese animes.
To kind of circle back though a little bit here, have either of you taken looks at stuff that's been revealed as far as the Dragonflight Alpha goes, and do you have any thoughts, feelings, or impressions from the stuff out there? I have not looked at a lot.
Mostly, I still follow a lot of people on social media that are really into it because like that was my first group fandom. I don't know. Whatever. Also on Reddit, stuff just pops up like on the popular stuff. Like you don't have to follow it. Or like one time I click over onto the WoW subreddit just out of disbelief at something, and then it's constantly like, you visited this subreddit before. I'm like, yeah, get out of my face. But from what I've seen, it looks like a motherfucking grind, and I'm really glad I got out when they're like, oh yeah, you gotta learn how to fly separately in each zone, and like you gotta fly to do damage. And I'm like, what is this? I might be totally wrong. I'm just skimming, but
I don't think you have to fly to do damage. But I know a lot of people have been talking about the whole like dragon riding flight thing. How like riding a dragon is supposed to be a bit more engaging and interactive, and but in exchange for having some gameplay in that, you can actually fly much faster on one of these dragons than you can on the standard mount.
Sir, nobody wants to pay attention while they're flying. Everybody wants to alt tab.
True.
Like, Jesus. Even in like Final Fantasy where the zones really aren't that big and there's no like full world flying, I will literally alt tab to Twitter if it's going to take me more than 10 seconds to do something.
Or don't forget that if you're in a party, you ride in the other person's multi-seater.
Yeah.
Then alt tab. Yep. That's living the life.
That is that's why I haven't really unlocked much flying, because Ward will just fly me wherever I want to go.
Oh my god.
I'm a big baby like that. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, I don't think you want to hear the joke he makes when he runs up to me on a giant chicken.
I mean,
I just heard it in my head. So.
I'm sure it's something that rhymes with rock, but yeah.
Wow. As far as I'm gone, I've kind of kept a cursory eye on Dragonflight information. I'm mostly curious as to how the new Evoker class is going to play. It looks like some slightly different variations on how World of Warcraft classes play, but I jumped out of that game for a very big reason of I don't like the way you tell your stories anymore. And I see nothing that's indicating that Dragonflight will be any different. So that's the limit of what I'm doing, is keeping a cursory eye on, okay, well, what do these zones look like? Oh, okay, that's pretty. Next. What are you doing to my favorite classes? Well, okay, that's cool. Doesn't sound very much fun. Next.
I like that we don't know too much about the story, though, because if they are going to take an approach where they're doing this testing and stuff like that, where they're trying to keep details of WoW's MSQ, as it were, out of public knowledge for the most part, because they've been trying like new methods of encryption and stuff like that, if they actually are attempting to do something where the main storyline for the most part is not known until we play it, that's going to be a bit intriguing to me. I do know that I'm going to give the leveling experience a shot. I've said as much on other shows, and I'll definitely give the leveling experience of Dragonflight a shot when it happens. It will drop sometime in December. It's supposed to drop sometime in December, at least before the end of the year, in theory. as far as our patch cycle goes in Final Fantasy 14, that'll be like a month or so before the next content patch, like before 6.3. So that's the perfect amount of time for me to level and see what I think of it. I'm probably going to be sticking with 14, but I'll give WoW a chance to surprise me.
My interest was piqued by the idea of like being a dragon until I saw what they actually look like.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my fucking god.
There's a lot of customization though on those.
There is.
Yeah, the thing is, WoW's visual style has never really totally gelled with me. It's always been kind of suggestive of something without ever really nailing it. And I think that they definitely took some really good strides when they like redesigned everything and made it a lot more cartoony. The problem is they really designed all of the characters' facial expressions and animations and everything to be readable from very, very far away, which, you know, in normal gameplay is good because for the most part, that's where you are. But then they're like, you know what we should put in? Cutscenes where we zoom right up on this goofy shit. And I'm like, oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking for the grind, but I was willing to put up with it to continue to read the story that I was really invested in. But then the story just kept getting dumber and dumber, and they kept forgetting stuff, and they kept retconning, and they kept pooping on all over my favorite characters. And eventually I was just like, you know what? I give up. There's nothing here for me.
Yeah, that's how it was for me too. I mean, have you guys seen the Quantic Foundry gamer archetype survey that went around a few weeks ago?
No.
Basically, you answer like a series of, I don't know, probably no more than 20, 25 questions based on like, I enjoy doing these things in games. And it groups you into like one of, I think there's 9 total archetypes, and it can give you like a sub one if you're strong in one of them.
Now I want to do that.
Yeah, the 2 it gave me is, it said your primary type is Slayer, which is you want to be, you know, the hero of a massive epic story. And then the second one is Bard, in which you want to group up with other people and work together, you know, not competitively, cohesively in like an overarching objective, which also may involve story, but also may involve other objectives.
Play Fire Emblem.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, my dislike of World of Warcraft kind of crystallized when I read that, because I'm like, yeah, because you're not really the grand hero of the story of the Warcraft universe. For one thing, they don't really tell a cohesive story. No. Because your leveling experience is whatever. They'll give you all these plot hints, and they're like, "Oh, you hit this level, go do the new stuff." Like, but I want to know what happens here. Well, you shouldn't get to the new stuff. That's where it's important.
Mm-hmm. It's all about.
And also, you're gonna have to raid if you want, you know, actual story answers. And I'm like, fuck you.
I didn't mind them leaving your character as like a blank protagonist, as long as the world around them was really interesting and vital, and you could like decide on a niche for them to fit into. I also did a lot of role play back in my WoW days, so you know they have a lot of really cool, especially like racial backgrounds and stories like that. It's just that like once everything started falling apart, and a lot of my like. Because like when you give the big overarching narrative, it can sound pretty cool. Like with Battle for Azeroth, like, oh, the whole world's going to war, and you know you're on this side, and maybe you made friends on the other side, but oh no, blah blah blah. But then once you got into like the minutia of it, it just was so exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And
not only that, but in all the big, epic, super powerful cutscenes where everything is resolved after you, the player character, have fought so hard to end these world-ending threats. Are you anywhere in sight? No. Is anybody giving you credit for your actions? Not in the least. Are people who are, you know, the real quote-unquote main characters of Warcraft making all the important story decisions without consulting you in the least? Oh, hell yes. Do I want anything to do with that anymore after having played through the entirety of the Final Fantasy XIV MSQ by this point 3 times? Not a damn chance.
Yeah, it definitely the way each game approaches story, and as far as like perspective and importance of like the player character, as far as like the impact that they have on the storyline, stuff like that, is a pretty big deal. And we're not just talking MSQ. I mean, that's even relevant in a lot of 14 side quests. I've been doing actually with like Beast Tribe quests and a few more side quests lately, kind of off and on. And I don't know, it feels like a more personal, it feels like just a more personal experience. It feels more like you're not just one person among 1,000, even when you're not necessarily doing Warrior of Light things, but you're just helping out a family out, you know?
Someone once said to me that player characters in World of Warcraft, in terms of Warcraft 3 scenarios, they're the faceless units that come out of the buildings that you just click on and, build a whole bunch of. Because that's how, little impact we have on the actual story. Despite, in terms of gameplay, what we do, like, we're the ones who are changing the freaking universe by doing, fighting all these amazingly powerful beings that have grand designs of domination or destruction or whatever. And then, shut up for 5 minutes and listen to Thrall and Jaina pontificate about what comes next for Azeroth.
It will be interesting to see if they take some lessons from other games such as 14 and ESO.
I really
like
hope so,
and try to put a different spin on it. I mean, there is a lot of fresh blood as far as the team goes. They have hired quite a few new people. So, again, when it comes to Dragonflight, I'm willing to give it a chance. I'm glad that its release is lined up with what will probably be around this same kind of similar low time for 9.2 and or not 9.2, 6.2. And we'll see what happens. I'm sure it will be brought up on the show a few times.
Oh,
absolutely.
No, we're still recording. Sorry. I'm over here taking the quiz, and Ward's like, "Are you done?" I'm like, "No, I just have ADD."
Okay, so for people listening, I found the page for this Quantic Foundry survey, and I put the link for it in our little discussion chat for the show. And Megan's already taking it. I should have waited till after recording.
I was going to say, what are you doing?
I should have known better. We've lost Megan for the rest of the show. So Brandon.
I'm still here mostly.
The funny thing is, somehow we're almost already at an hour, and we were worried that we weren't going to be have a lot to talk about. But we always seem to find a way. Brandon, since you haven't been playing a lot of 14, is there anything about Star Wars Old Republic you just need to get off your chest? Feel free to.
Well, I will say this. I have been playing a little bit of 14. I've mostly just been doing some roulettes and some friggin' Arca Sidara tribe dailies. I'm trying to level up Samurai on the Old Man, and I'm also leveling Dragoon up on the Cat Girl. I'm also been running the frontline roulette, especially on the Old Man, because I finished leveling up Gunbreaker at 80 on him, and I'm like, all right, I need to figure out how to get his aesthetic up to what I actually want it to be. And the trophy crystal vendor has a recolor of the Shadowbringers Gunbreaker artifact set that is completely dyeable right off the bat. But by itself, it looks really good, and the weapon you pair with it's not the same weapon as the the level 80 artifact one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's this really futuristic looking, almost mecha anime sort of like, heated up sword blade that kind of like has a weird deploying animation. It looks ridiculous. It looks super shiny and high tech. And when it comes to me, I love that sort of thing. So I'm trying to, build up the trophy crystals to assemble that set. I've got 3 of the 5 pieces acquired. Anyway, other than that, yeah, I've mostly been playing Old Republic. A lot of the same reasons I love Final Fantasy XIV are the same reasons I love Old Republic. To be fair, I haven't played Old Republic like with any kind of consistency in years at this point, but they added some new features. There was 2 new expansions that had come out since I last subscribed. So I bought a 60-day time card and just went in, started, playing through the new story that I hadn't touched, recustomized some of my appearances, stuff I like to do in MMOs, just that kind of thing. I will say that Old Republic is buggy AF, and I think a lot of that was thrown into sharp relief considering how just well polished and put together FF14 is. And I'm going like, wait, what? How do you ship this in this state? Like, I freaking tried to complete, it was a story area in this one instance area of a planet, and I get the cutscene where I'm like back in my base talking with these people. The cutscene drops, and I'm still at the area on that planet, and going like, how do I get out of here? There's no exit. Because it just assumed it would, teleport you to where, the conversation you just had ended, and it didn't bother. So I'm like, okay, well, that's not something I've been used to in quite a while.
You just need to cast your return spell and you'll be fine.
I mean, yeah, that's what I ended up having to do. But I'm like, trying to play through the story, quote, as intended, so to speak. But there's just a lot of bugs in that game that you just kind of have to like look past and just try and get used to it. I will say that in terms of story writing, it's still a great Star Wars tale. And, the aesthetics of their armor design, it always feels very Star Wars, and I really like it. Wish to God their online store wasn't such a big factor in all of that, but I think at this point there's no use complaining about that, because at least it's not very, spend real money and get the best stat armor. It's more like spend real money and get the armor based on this cool character you really want to look like.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I've just been enjoying that. I mean, I had an old, work colleague who messaged me saying, hey, I started playing Old Republic again. Plus, I watched Kenobi, and that got the Star Wars bug in my head. And I figured, okay, well, we're in kind of a lull between content patches. I'm more or less caught up with the story on 2 of my characters. And I'm at the point with my 3rd where, okay, the final days are about to start, so stuff's about to get real dark. I don't know if I can emotionally handle that right now. So it's been a nice break.
Well, and the thing is it's good to take breaks like that, because that helps you from feeling burnt out as far as other content goes. And, I don't even see myself as being, here I am playing other games and stuff like that at the same time as I'm playing 14. And I don't feel there's so many things I could do in 14, and every once in a while I get an itch to do those other things. But at the same time, I don't feel like I'm missing out on stuff, because that stuff is always there and ready whenever I'm ready to get to it. I think the only time that there's going to be a little bit of a challenge there is in the coming weeks. We're going to get to that point. It's going to be the end of July, first week of August, and it's going to be like, hey, Ro, Hildebrand quests need to get done, man.
You got to get them done, both of you.
And
we're only going to get.
And I'm going to be like, yeah, I know, but.
And the thing is you have to do the 3 previous quest series.
I know.
And there's only going to be more Endwalker Hildebrand stuff coming out with every patch. So.
Every patch.
And if it's tied to the relic weapons this time around, which, I'm reserving judgment, but my first glance is like, this is not gonna end well, but I
bet you that these weapons are the coolest looking weapons they've made yet, which is going to infuriate the people that are grumpy about doing the Hildebrand quest that much.
Hey, I hope you're right, because I will be happy to grind out a few of them, at least to the first glowy stage, all the live long day, if they're amazing. But if you're going to give me like, Hildebrand's face on my summoner book, I'm out.
Oh no! I mean, maybe it could work for like a really creepy summoner.
I will take the giant frying pan for the Dark Knight weapon, and neither of you are going to get that because you haven't played the Hildebrand quests. But as for the rest, set some limits on how comedic these are going to be, Yoshi P.
I do not think I need context for a funny giant frying pan.
Now, who doesn't love giant frying pans? I mean, really.
The character associated with that joke is hilarious, and I love her. And that's the only reason I'm okay getting that thing as a Dark Knight weapon.
Nice.
She's one of the few Hildebrand characters I really, really like. And I'm not saying who it is because spoilers.
Yes.
And I know that sounds weird coming from me, the guy who spoils everything because it doesn't quote unquote spoil the, end result for me. But
do either of you guys watch anime like at all? Am I the only true weeb here?
I mean, the anime that I watch, Megan, is pretty basic like your mainstream anime bullshit. I don't watch like the stuff that like I think people who are hardcore into anime watching. I don't watch the stuff that they necessarily watch. I mean, I've watched my fair share of Bleach episodes. I've watched Death Note. I've watched My Hero I watched episodes of My Hero Academia. It's stuff like that.
Watch Demon Slayer.
I keep on hearing that I should watch that.
I watched 2 anime shows way back in probably 2005, 2006, solely to impress a girl I was interested in.
What anime? What anime?
One was Cowboy Bebop, and one was called Scride, I think.
Scride is good. Scride is
It was like
great.
S-Cry-ED or something like that.
It was on Adult Swim, and it was amazing. Also, Code Geass was also really good.
Yes. Code Geass. Yeah. I've not finished that one. But yeah, I bring it up because my all-time favorite manga is getting an anime adaptation soon, and it's by one of my favorite studios, and I expect you to watch it.
Okay.
I promise nothing because I did not enjoy Cowboy Bebop.
Well, what the fuck is wrong with you?
It did live up to the hype. I had expectations going into it that I did not feel were fulfilled.
I've never met a human being that does not like Cowboy Bebop.
I like.
Okay, here's my main problem with Cowboy Bebop.
Ein is great. How can you not like Ein?
I love Ein. I love Ein.
Right?
Do what?
You watched the dub, right?
Of course.
Okay. What's wrong with you?
I don't do something. Here's my problem with Cowboy Bebop. The entire series is a different plot line every episode.
Yeah, it's called episodic television.
Yeah, but they don't resolve anything until the final episode, and then they just rush through it. I prefer shows that slowly get through the plot over the episodes.
So it's not an HBO original series. So what? Not all TV has to tell one long epic storyline.
That's what I like. That's why I play Final Fantasy 14.
Well, you're missing out on a lot of fun stuff. Jesus.
I'm fine with that. I know what I like, and I don't think Cowboy Bebop is bad. I think as on its own, I think it was good. It was well animated. It was fun to watch. The dub voice acting was great. It just wasn't what I was expecting because I'm like, are you ever going to get to any of the plot elements you set up in the first episode? And then they did in the last episode and just rushed right through it.
This is a you problem.
That was unsatisfying. Yes, it is a me problem.
Sorry.
I fully admit that.
Sir, there's a great medium for you. It's called movies.
Oh my God.
Look, I fully admit this is a completely, my preferences sort of thing. I just did not like the way they resolved that.
I enjoy things that are a slow burn, building up a plot through the whole thing. I also really enjoy episodic things. Do you hate Firefly also? Do you hate Star Trek? You don't like anything that is episodic?
I don't hate any of those things because they also don't set up, a whole bunch of plot and just ignore it for the entirety of the show's run.
All the things that Joss Whedon literally set up and then never answered, and then was in the movie I'm never going to tell you that.
Yeah, that did kind of irritate me, but it resolved enough of it that I didn't care.
Fuck Joss Whedon, by the way. Anyway.
Yes, fuck Joss Whedon.
I'm just saying, I'm thinking of episodic things that I enjoyed watching at the time, and I'm just
I will say this: my favorite Star Trek series is Deep Space Nine for this exact reason.
Oh God, okay, well that makes sense.
Also, the fact that Picard and Janeway put up with Q's shenanigans multiple times over the course of that series run. He shows up one time to DS9. Cisco decks him the fuck out, and he never shows up again. That's why Cisco is best captain.
I'm not super into Star Trek, but.
My favorite Star Trek series was Babylon 5, but hey, who's talking? To
be fair, my current favorite Star Trek series is The Orville.
Yeah, that's a good Star Trek series too. All right.
Oh my God. Okay, wait. Hold on. I'm not over this.
There we go.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Yeah. The anime that you guys have to watch is called Chainsaw Man. Okay. It is going to be gory. it's gonna be a little spooky, but I think you can handle it. Put on your big boy pants and watch it because it's gonna be amazing.
Okay, so
I
Chainsaw
promise
Man,
nothing because I do not handle gore well.
It's cartoon gore. Come on.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, I promise nothing. If I will try it, and if I'm like, nope, this is making my stomach churn, I'm out.
I was forged in the fires of fucking 80s anime. Goddamn
Good for
Wicked
you.
City of Ninja Scroll. Jeez, I don't understand not liking gore or like not liking violence in media. Like, I don't know. It's just so much more impactful, you know? Like, you could be like, this guy's threatening, but then he like punches someone in half and you're like, oh fuck, this guy's really threatening.
There is a threshold I have in which I'm like, nope, this is gonna give me nightmares. I'm out.
You don't like fun violence? There's no fun violence for you?
It depends on exactly what all you're showing off in the violence.
Did you like Doom, the new one?
Of course.
There you go. Yeah, it's like that level of violence. It's literally
well, then, that should be fine.
Fighting demons violence, like slapstick violence.
Yeah, that's fine. That's below the I'm getting squicked out threshold for me.
But Ro, I think you should watch Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. It's very good.
Chainsaw Man, and then Demon Slayer. Got it.
Well, Demon Slayer's out already. It's had like 3 seasons and a movie, and Chainsaw Man's coming out soon. They won't tell us when. They're just like, summer. Soon. I'm like, summer's ending soon, guys. Can we?
Summer's got like about 2 months left to go.
I really want.
You got till September 21st to get that baby out.
I would also recommend, if you're a big weeaboo or you want to get more into like anime and Japanese culture, or the nerdy side of Japanese culture, to start getting into reading manga.
I wish I had the time to do all of these things.
I don't know. Do you ever ride a bus? Do you ever have downtime? No. You can read manga on your phone.
No. Why haven't I played Fire Emblem? Because I don't have too many opportunities where I'm like, hey, I'm going to play on my Switch some.
Oh my God.
Ro works a crap ton and I have small children. Our time is very limited.
Anyhow, we should steer things toward wrapping things up.
Don't watch Chainsaw Man in front of the children.
No. Do that.
All right. Well, somehow we've spent an hour and 10 minutes talking about a whole bunch of stuff and a little bit of Final Fantasy in between. I imagine that our next episode is going to be a bit more Final Fantasy 14 related because, among other things, there should be another live letter really close to then. It may happen before then. Who knows?
I hope it does.
Also, I am trying to get a guest on. I'm not going to say the person's name so that when some guest appears in the next show, we'll be like, oh yeah, this was the person I was getting all along. Yep.
Cool.
So, working on a guest for next episode. We will see what happens there. Actually, I just looked at the Twitter reply from the person I was trying to contact, and it looks like that person says they may be able to do that. So, he or she will be on here in 2 weeks, hopefully. All right. Until then, though, Brandon, where can people find you on the internets?
Just go to my Twitter, twitter.com/thebmat. There's links to everything I've got going on, including a link to my other podcast, +5 to Hit, where hopefully we're going to get to go to school again. Hopefully Amanda doesn't get hurt again. That was so sad. Yeah, and to all the people who just came over to try the show out from all the other Warcraft Radio, Warcraft specific shows, I'm sorry I don't shit on your game every episode, I promise.
Only every third episd.
Yeah, that's probably more like it.
It's true. We don't think about it that often, but we're better exes.
That's perfectly fine. Megan, where can people find you?
On Twitter @CatMomMegan. Megan is spelled Meagan. It's all one word. Yeah, you can find links to my Tumblr, to my Webtoon, and all of my random pictures of my cat Butterscotch, who we have been randomly talking about, and also lots of in-game screenshots, both from Final Fantasy and from Fire Emblem. Because
you can find a link for commission info.
Oh yeah, that too. I draw stuff. I draw Final Fantasy stuff.
Draws it really well.
Oh, thank you. I try.
You can find me on Twitter on a new Twitter handle now because the whole reason why I went by RoWCR, the WCR stood for Warcraft Radio. Now that that's no longer a thing, you can find me on Twitter at Podcaster Ro. That's Podcaster RHO. That's my new handle on Twitter. If you've been following me before, you're still following me. It's fine.
It would have been funny if it was like row.
You can find this show on Twitter at A Podcast Reborn. You can email us at podcastreborn@gmail.com. And once again, as a reminder, we are part of Bonus Roll Productions now. You can find Bonus Roll over at bonusroll.gg, where you can find the Bonus Roll podcast directory, links to all of our shows, a lot of great content. Click on the community link at the top of the show, and that will take you to a link for our Discord, where you can find the channel for A Podcast Reborn, and you can interact with us in there as well. The theme for our show is Alex Moukala's imagined boss theme for Endwalker. Do check out his YouTube channel for more great music. A link to it can be found in the notes for this podcast. And of course, that music and other derivatives of Final Fantasy XIV music you may hear me put on this show belongs to Square Enix, and no copyright infringement is intended. That's going to do it for episode 18. Until episode 19, for Megan, for Brandon, and of course, as always, for Brother Scotch, this is Brian Black reminding you to may your loot rolls be high, your glamour fantastic, and your duties always complete. Brandon.
So, when the Crystal Braves turned on us, those jerks actually poisoned my chocobo. I mean, he's okay now, but for a while there, he was a very ill bird.
Oh my fuck! Fuck you! Ah! Now I just want to yell, Sloppy! Oh. I was gonna be like, come to the Discord and recommend me violent anime.
That was a very violent reaction to that, Dad.
I hate Elephants so much. It's a visceral
Just
reaction.
Fun based on his name is enough to trigger that reaction. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, don't mention the name of the guy who takes care of Harshafather. My goodness.
If there's anything that Final Fantasy XIV is really good at, it's crafting this fucking guy.
Talk to you in 2 weeks, folks. Take care.
Bye.